Hello, this video is Library Resources in Geology, a recording for Geology 3130 Engineering Geology, as taught by Professor Chelsea Lancelle. I'm Jeff Iverson, the Carmen Library's Information Literacy Librarian. As you begin your research, you may find it helpful to start by brainstorming some ideas. Let's say, for example, that you are interested in researching building construction in areas that are prone to earthquakes. So when you start that research, you want to think about what are some of the major concepts that you can pull out of that sentence. So off the top of my head, we can say, okay, one major concept there is building construction, and the other major concept is earthquakes. Then, for later, we might also want to think about some synonyms, ideas, and words which are related to each of these concepts, because this might later help us to broaden or narrow our search. For example, some words that are related to earthquakes include fault lines, tremors, and seismic hazards. Some words related to construction include architecture, design, commercial, residential, and industrial. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list of all the words or synonyms you could use, just kind of coming up with some. You can get ideas for words to use in your search from encyclopedias, even Wikipedia could be useful in this case, and thesauruses. In order to begin your research, let's navigate over to the Carmen Library's website. Most of the time, when conducting your research, you will navigate down to this blue box, Search at UW. Search at UW acts as a combination online catalog for physical resources and portal to electronic and digital resources. It defaults to a basic search, but we can try entering in some of those terms that we came up with when brainstorming earlier. So let's try typing in earthquake, construction, and then we press search. So this has given us quite a list of results. As you might be able to see near the top here, we have over 87,000 results that the term earthquake construction brought up for us. So what we need to do next is to filter our search by applying the narrowing filters that are available on the left-hand side of the screen. Here's a couple of ways that you can narrow your search. One is to include only those resources that have been peer-reviewed. This means that the resource or article has been published by somebody who is an expert in the field. Maybe the research was done by somebody who's a geologist or a civil engineer, somebody who's worked in the field for a long time. And then before that research was published, it was reviewed by other people who are similarly credentialed. A lot of the time, if you're doing a search on the web, it can be hard to figure out exactly who the person who wrote that information was, what their credentials are. Here we have that filter readily available in Search at UW, so you can narrow your results to show only those items that have been published in peer-reviewed scholarly journals. While we have our results narrowed to only peer-reviewed items, there are still things published in peer-reviewed journals, such as letters to the editor, book reviews that are not exactly new research or information. So in order to make sure that we're just looking at peer research, we can limit this to articles. Another filter that you might find helpful is the topic filter. Each article or book or whatever it is that you're searching for has various topics or subjects assigned to it in order to give you an idea of what the article is actually about. So this might also help you when you're looking for brainstorming terms. But we can see that there are a large number of topics. Some of them are very broad, like analysis or behavior or civil engineering. Some of them are a little bit more specific, like reinforced concrete or seismic engineering. Now, seismic engineering is a term that seems to me to be very specific to basically engineering for earthquakes. So I can choose this topic and again limit our list of search results to only those articles that have the subject seismic engineering. One thing that you may also find helpful in other searches is the ability to select multiple topics at once. If you hover over to the left side of the topic, you see you can select multiples. If you mouse over to the right side, you can see that you can also exclude various topics from your list of search results. Finally, you might find the filter for creation date useful as well. Oftentimes, especially in engineering and the sciences, you want the most up-to-date research that's available. So we might say that we're only interested in articles from the last 10 years, and we can change our range of dates from 2010 to 2020, and click Refine. As you can see, we've done a great job here of narrowing our results down. We initially had over 87,000 results, and now we're down to just over 1,600. But let's now actually take a look at one of these articles and see what they look like, and I'll show you how to get to them. So I'm going to scroll down here, and why don't we take a look at this third one from the top. Review of the state of the art in assessing earthquake-induced loss of functionality in buildings. Just before we get into finding the PDF of the article, I just want to show you a couple of things here. So usually these citations here will show you the title of the article. It'll show you the author's names. In this case, it looks like it's Mealer and Mitrani Reiser. It'll show you the journal that they were published in. So that's the Journal of Structural Engineering in this case, and that it was published on March 1st, 2018. It's volume 144, issue 3. So that's all of that citation information. Another tool that you might find useful here is if you click on the little quotation marks, this actually produces an automatic citation which you can use in your works cited page or bibliography. This is available in APA, Chicago, Harvard, or MLA. And if you're not sure which citation format you're supposed to use, you can ask your professor. Also, just a quick word of caution, because this is something that is produced automatically, I still recommend that you check it against your style guide to make sure that the citation is completely accurate. Nevertheless, it's still a useful time saver. We can get a little bit more information about the article by clicking either on its title or where it says Online Access. When we do that, we get some of the same bibliographic information. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll also see a summary or abstract of what the article is about and other identifying information. In order to get to the full text of this article, notice underneath View It where it says Full Text Available At. In this case, it's on the database American Society of Civil Engineers, ASCE Journals. In some other cases, there will be multiple options. But in this case, this is the only database where this particular article is held. So I will click on that link and it'll take us out to the database. Now, each database is going to look a little bit different, but in each case, you're going to want to try to find either the full text or the PDF of the article. Now, in this article, it appears that it is actually available right on the web page. And you'll kind of notice that it's broken up into different sections. This is common, sort of common format with peer-reviewed articles. It starts out with the abstract, which tells you what the article is about. It has an introduction, which provides background into the topic. And it kind of has the main body of it, which breaks it down into different areas, talking about some of the specific problems. Talks about models that they use. And potential areas of research in the future, ending with conclusions. So that's a brief overview of the sort of design and format of these articles. But let's try and find a PDF format of this, something that's a little bit neater. So if I click on download here, this makes it show up more as a PDF. It's a little bit neater. It's also helpful for citations because you can find the page numbers more easily. And actually here you also have some illustrations and charts and graphs, which were not actually there in the HTML in the browser window. So I highly recommend downloading the PDF if you are able to do so. One other thing that you might find useful is the references section. So if, let's say, you read this entire article, you found it very helpful, you found it very relevant to the research that you wanted to do, you can chase down citations. You can go back to where the citations that were cited in this article came from initially. And there you can sort of give your research a little bit more depth. So I'm just going to take the first example here, okay? We'll take a look at earthquake-induced structural and non-structural damage in hospitals. It says this was in Earthquake Spectra. So here it looks like they have a link. I'm going to try clicking the link and seeing if that gets us anywhere. Okay, and this one says it's on Sage Journal, but then we have a lock here, which says access options, which probably means that we don't have free access to the full text of this one, at least not by clicking that link. I'm just going to try downloading the PDF as well, see if that works, and it does not. So another thing we can do is I'm going to go back to that article, go back to our references section, and instead I will copy the title, Earthquake-Induced Structural and Non-Structural Damage in Hospitals. So I'll copy that. I will go back to Search at UW, and instead of the basic search, I will do an advanced search. So you saw me click Advanced Search, and instead of an any field search, I will do title contains words, paste that title. I may have to add a space here where there wasn't one before. Okay, and it looks like I'm not getting any results here. So the next thing that I'll try then is expand my results. And when I clicked expand my results, it looks like it actually showed up, and there was probably just some issue with my using quotation marks, searching that entire phrase, and it wasn't exactly the same. But here we have earthquake-induced structural and non-structural damage in hospitals, so I can click on that, and again, go to view it to get to the external database where that article is housed. And actually, it's a good thing that we followed this up, because it looks like even though we thought that that was the full text, it was merely a citation of that article. So there are some other things that we might need to do in order to chase down that full text. One thing that you can try doing is searching Google Scholar. So Google Scholar is not a service that is offered by the library, but I find that it's helpful to see if a full-text PDF of a scholarly or peer-reviewed article is actually available online for free. So I'll type in scholar.google.com, and again, I will paste the title of that article that we were looking for, Earthquake-Induced Structural and Non-Structural Damage in Hospitals. And in this case, it actually looks like that is available for us. There's a PDF here. And I was able to find that article through Google Scholar. A couple of other tools that you might find useful, if we scroll down here, are other citation tools. You can find sources that cite this article, that cite earthquake-induced structural and non-structural damage in hospitals, by clicking that. So this is a list of articles that cite the article we were just looking at. And then if we go back here, we can also find where this particular article is cited in other articles. And it looks like there's none published yet that are available, but you might find that tool useful in other cases. Now let's say that we were looking for this article, this earthquake-induced structural and non-structural damage in hospitals article, and we had tried all the things we just did. We tried searching for it in Search at UW. We tried looking in Google Scholar. We tried looking in citation chains, and it just didn't show up. Well, another option that you have in order to find the article is to go back to the Carmen Library's homepage and scroll down, and underneath resources, you'll see that you can make an interlibrary loan request. So if we go to Interlibrary Loan, and then you click here where it says Carmen's Iliad page, This prompts you to log in with your UW-Platteville username with your NetID and password. This uses Duo authentication. And when you're on the ILLiad Interlibrary Loan Request page, what you would do is you would make a new request based on the format of the resource you want. So in this case, we'd go to New Request Article. And when you find that citation information, you would enter that into the fields here. You're basically required to enter in everything that has a red asterisk. And then also say if there is a date after which you wouldn't need it, and then you would submit your request. And you can put in interlibrary loan requests both for articles in electronic formats or for books in physical formats. And it does not even necessarily have to be something for a class. So if there is a book that you want to read just for fun on your own, you're also welcome to use interlibrary loan for that purpose. But interlibrary loan really is a great service, and I'm pointing it out to you because sometimes if you search for an article in Google, it will tell you that you can have it, but you have to pay a lot of money for it. Under no circumstances, when you're a student here at UW-Platteville, should you need to pay extra money for an academic article or book. Make an interlibrary loan request, and we will do what we can to get that available for you. This is a service that's available for free of charge, and we highly encourage you to use it if you're having trouble finding anything. Caveat with interlibrary loan, of course, is that it will take time for resources to arrive. It's not something that is going to work well for you if you've started a paper the night before it's due. But if you plan ahead, interlibrary loan can be very helpful for you. So far in this video, we've spent a lot of time going over how to find electronic articles, peer-reviewed articles, but let's spend a little bit of time showing you how Search at UW can be used to find books and physical items that are within the library. So going back to Search at UW, let's start a new simple search. And again, we will use the terms that we started out with: earthquake and construction. One tip here, when you're searching for books, you may want to use broader search terms than when searching for articles. Part of the reason for that is because we have a lot more electronic articles than we have physical books. I'm also going to unclick expand my results here because expand my results shows you sometimes just the abstract. Having done that earthquake construction search, back to that initial search, if you want to look for books, you go to show only things that are available at my libraries. So because University of Wisconsin-Platteville has multiple campuses, this will include books that are available at the Richland and Baraboo campuses as well, but those can be delivered to the Carmen Library if you are in Platteville. So let's take a look at some of these results. We have one here called Earthquake Engineering for Concrete Dams, Design, Performance, and Research Needs. It says there's two versions of this record, so if I click on the title, I can see the different versions. And it looks like one of them is available at the UW-Platteville's Carmen Library stacks on the third floor. So this gives you some information. This tells you that it is available on the third floor of Carmen Library. It also gives you a call number starting with TC547. Basically, call numbers are a way of organizing the books by subject. So each call number corresponds to a general area. This is for aid in browsing, so I'll go over to this Word document for a minute. A couple of Library of Congress classification call numbers that might be useful for geology for engineers. You'll see the TC is about hydraulic engineering and ocean engineering. Basically, there's no need for any of you to memorize these things. All that you need to know is that if a book is on the shelf in our stacks, the books that are nearby it generally tend to be about the same kind of thing. This helps in browsing. Like with the electronic articles, if you click on the citation tool, this will produce a citation that you can use in your bibliography. When I click on the book's title again, this also gives us some information about, again, where to find it, what its call number is. This tells you the title of the book, gives you some of the subjects that it falls under, and there's also the virtual browse. So if you're looking for a number of books on this subject, say if you're interested in earthquake engineering for dams or engineering for dams in general, you can scroll through the virtual browse here and see what other similar books are available. We talked a little bit about interlibrary loan already, of course, but it's also possible to get the book from other UW institutions if the UW Platteville copy is checked out. And in that case, you would sign in using your UW Platteville username and password. And then again, you could submit a request. Perhaps you could ask for a local request, tell where you're going to pick it up, if you're picking it up at the Carmen Library in Platteville or at Baraboo or Richland Libraries. So as you have seen, there's a lot that you can do with Search at UW, but Search at UW isn't even the only way to find information through the Carmen Library or its website. If I go back to our homepage, I'll show you our LibGuides, which is where we organize resources by subject pages. So again, under resources, if you click on resources by subject, this takes you to the LibGuide page where we have compiled a number of research guides, sometimes based on academic subjects, sometimes more specific than that. But if you were looking for something in the geology for engineers area, you might want to try geography or perhaps civil engineering. And just to show you what one of these looks like, underneath geography, we have a number of different tabs. One tab shows various library resources, such as electronic databases. And so when we were searching through Search at UW, we were simultaneously going through every database that we subscribe to, as well as the book and physical resource catalogs. If you search individual databases, you'll get fewer results than you would with Search at UW, but perhaps the results a higher percentage of them would be more relevant or useful to you. So just to try one out here, we'll take a look at the GeoRef database. And so this is the GeoRef database, and I can try a similar search to what we did before, earthquakes and construction. And one thing you'll notice here in this individual database, in this GeoRef database, is that it has autocompletes, which might, again, be some good words to use, might give you some ideas for better words to use for your search. So I can try a search for earthquakes and construction. I can also pre-limit my results, asking for only ones that have full texts that are linked, to exclude those results that are abstracts only. I would click search then, and here we have 383 results, which, again, not nearly as many as we got through Search at UW, but plenty. And we can take a look at what one of these looks like. So let's try to find one that's relevant to us. Okay, so seismic hazard for design and verification of nuclear installations in France. That's relevant to our topic. So I could click on that to get some of that bibliographic information. And again, it tells you all that data you need to know, the authors, the title of where the journal, or in this case, monograph, where it was originally printed, some subject areas. You'll notice here that the subject areas are hot linked as well. So clicking on those executes a new search for you. Again, the abstract, which you would want to read in order to figure out if this article is going to be useful to you or not. And you'd want to look again for a PDF or a link to the full text. In this case, in EBSCOhost databases, it's on the left here. So I'd click PDF full text. And again, I have a peer-reviewed article. Going back to that LibGuide, so the Library Resources tab has electronic databases. We've also worked on collecting a number of comprehensive websites just out on the web that we feel are good ones. We feel are websites that would be helpful for you in doing your research. We have geography websites and geology websites. And then we also have a tab for how to get help from the library. Before we go into that, I'll also just wanted to show you on the library's homepage. So LibGuides organizes the resources by subject. If you get to the point where you are familiar with the various databases that we have, you might want to go to our electronic resources link, which has an alphabetical listing of all of the databases. So we tried GeoRef. You would go to G. You could get to the GeoRef database that way. The Carmen Library has a lot of resources for you, and we want to make sure that you have everything that you need to succeed here. We've gone over a lot today: Search at UW, LibGuides, peer-reviewed articles, and we don't expect you to memorize all of this information. The one thing that I would like you to remember is that our job here is to serve you. So if you do have any questions, if you find that you need extra help, please do feel free to visit the Carmen Library to get help from any of us at any time. Our reference desk is staffed by librarians during normal business hours, and we are also available through chat and through email and through phone as well to be contacted. So if you have any questions, if you're having trouble finding your research, or if you're not sure where to start, definitely get in touch with us. Thank you.